Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's video, part 3 of the deck lid, we're going to hinge it and latch it. There's been a lot of work to go into it, as you saw from the episode before. A lot of sheet metal work to kind of save it. So far, what I've done, the hinges were actually installed in a much previous episode. But when I took the deck lid and actually fit the deck lid into the hole, it wasn't quite sitting right. And at first I thought, the back half of the car was skewed because, there's a lot of reconstruction that took place here. And as many times as you measure stuff and everything else, diagonally, square, whatever, you're welding all kinds of pieces to it. So had a little bit of a moment on that. And then I actually realized what was going on was that the hinges, which go through here, there's these countersunk screws that go into the hole. And what I found was actually these screws were not countersunk deep enough. So I don't know if you can see it or not there. I had to basically play around countersinking those. I actually used the little air grinder with a carbide tool to kind of relieve them a little bit so they set in. So what we have right now, I've got them set in. They fit in right, the screws countersinking right, and I've trial fitted the deck lid in, and it fits pretty good. It doesn't jam up like it did before. The sides still aren't perfectly straight. There's a little bit of waviness into it, so more than likely what I'm going to have to do is where there's too much gap, it's probably been pushed in because there's a lot of dents here. I'm going to have to knock these dents out, more than likely come from behind with a slide hammer or something and try and reshape this. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hinge the deck lid in place. So the first step I did was I drilled the holes here for the hinge pins. So the hinge pin fits through there. Now I'm going to mount that in there, and I'm going to start working on basically the gap all the way around so that we've got a nice fit for it. Then the next section, there's these adjusters that go onto the deck lid itself. They actually go on the side here. The hinge pins go through it, and what happens, there's two holes here. What this does, it allows it to adjust up and down. So the hole gets opened up here. There's a hole there that it pivots on, and there's an adjuster here. So what this will do when it's installed, it'll rock up and down so you can adjust the deck lid. But first things first, we're going to get the deck lid in, get our gap right, and then we'll work on those. And then the last part of the video, we've got the latching mechanism that has to go in, which actually isn't that simple because the latching mechanisms that come out right now, they've made them so that you can use them either as a rumble lid or as a deck lid. The problem with that is the rumble one is really long and the one for the deck lid is really short. So this, you'll probably, if you do some research online, you'll see that people are complaining that these don't fit. The reason is because you've got to actually trim off the top of this so it'll actually fit down inside there. Right now it doesn't because it needs to be short. If I was using it as a rumble lid, guess what? It fits in just fine. So nothing wrong with it. We just have to trim it to make it fit. So follow along as I go all through those different things, and we'll get this deck lid in the car, gapped, hinged, and latched. Here's the adjustment so far. As you can see right there, that's how much I pushed up the one side of the lower pan. And then you can see over here where I'm adjusting this side now. Across the back now, we got a much better gap. So like I said, I'm going to have to tweak this. It's the shape of the lower pan has to come out a little bit to meet up with the deck lid. Also up here on the deck lid, on the top, this body line here has to come this way so that the deck lid can come over, and then this gap will get better. It's a little crooked in there right now, but it's a lot better. This side, you can see on this side, everything is really good. and then across the top I'll get a really nice gap. So just inching my way along here, just one thing at a time. Like I said, this side here is the one I'm going to have to work on the most. What I think actually has to happen, like I said, is like where the hinges is got to come over a little bit, so that body part will have to be adjusted. So more to come. Here it is now with the rear pan moved up and the corners trimmed up and metalwork done on them. Also, what I've done is I have fixed the gap here on the bottom of the deck lid so it's even all the way across. And now up and down the sides here, it's really close now. Probably as close as what we're going to get with the sheet metal without doing some, you know, major work. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of fill work going on to sort stuff out. Some of these quarters, you know, we tried to save as much metal as we can and work out the dents as much as we can, but there'll be a tiny little bit of fill put on this before it's painted. Even up along the back here, we've got a nice gap going along the back, so I'm happy with that. So next up, I'm going to proceed to put the door or the trunk lid handle in, sorry. And then there's like these little reinforcing plates over here, right there, that basically go in where the hinge pins are, and what they're used for is they can adjust them up and down. So there's the door latch, or the trunk latch, sorry, and there's the catch for the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on that now. Now that we got the deck lid fitting really well into the car, I've got to actually fit the latch mechanism in. So because I made this sheet metal myself, it didn't have the holes here or there, nor this plate section here where the latch mechanism goes through. So kind of as I described before, these aftermarket Vintique latches are set up so that you can use them for either a rumble lid or a deck lid. So if you're going to use it as a deck lid, you actually have to cut a significant piece of it off, so that, and basically you cut it off and then you keep trimming it until finally, let's see if I can do this without the camera lady. So there, that it'll fit in there like this. So far I've got the holes drilled on both sides. I've got the hole, or the square hole, cut out here to fit where the latch comes through. Next, I just have to drill the holes for the screw. So I'm almost there on this one. So fortunately for me, I had the Roadster over here to go by. So I was able to figure out where this hole was and pre-drill it, get an idea where this hole was, and then the hole, well, I don't know if you can see it or not, the hole on the inside. So obviously the hole on the outside is going to be straight going through. I did also have the original over here that I could have gone off of, which would be close, right down there. So I'm going to carry on here. The camera lady is not available at the moment, so I'm going to have to do my best to show you what's going on with this all by myself. She'll join us later towards the end of the video, and we'll hopefully get a little better video. But everything's going well. Soon to have this into the car. Thanks. So the deck lid latch is in place now, so I can put my handle in, and it opens and shuts just like it would over there on the Roadster. So next up, what I have to do is I have to weld these hinges, I don't know, hinge supports, I'm not sure what you want to call them, but these will go right there. And what they do is, I probably said this earlier, but in the center hole, it basically pivots. There's an adjusting screw on the back, and then this hole here is what actually goes on the pin in the car. So what I'm going to have to do, since these are all worn out, I have to weld this hole up in the top and then re-drill it out the size of a pin, and probably fix that hole as well, and then drill the holes in the deck lid so that this at least will adjust, and so it'll toggle in the future. Oh, sorry about that. It'll toggle in the future. So I'm going to carry on with the deck lid here, and hopefully we'll get her all in place in the car here shortly. So there it is, the deck lid's in. Sorry it's taken 3 episodes to do it, but there was quite a bit of work to do in this one, especially where we're trying to recover some of the original 32 sheet metal, trying to use some of the original 32 parts. So deck lid's in, got a nice gap all the way around. The handle's in and the latch is in. The lock on the bottom isn't quite in yet. We've got the adjusters in the top. So right now, like I said, nice gap all the way around. Had to adjust the bottom panel as you saw earlier. So, you know, that was pretty significant to do that. So right now, I think the camera lady can show you, but there's the adjusters in there. What that allows us to do is you can undo the screw here. You potentially could move the back part of the deck lid up and down, depending on, you know, over time it wears or whatnot. So that's in correctly. This piece isn't in yet. I've got to put that in later. It's not that big of a deal to put in. Like I said, the latch is in. The only other thing that we have to get for it, but it should be just a bolt in, is that there's a, I don't know, a hold open kind of a strap here that goes on, and we don't have it for the Coupe right now. I'm either going to copy this one and make a new one, or we'll order one up for the Coupe. We don't have an original for it. Next coming up, we're getting kind of to the end of the sheet metal work on the 32 Coupe. There's quite a few little things left to do. You're going to see some little pieces of tape here. As I go around the car, I'll see little imperfections or pinholes that I missed that I've got to fill up. I've got to go do those. There's an area on the side here on the belt line. I'm going to try and dolly it out a little bit better, but I think it's going to be okay. Worst case, I'll replace that. Then the next thing will be to work on the doors. These doors are actually quite exceptional. There's a little bit of rot in one of the corners, but really nothing significant that I have to do except for get the latch mechanisms working, and then if necessary, you know, fill in the gaps a little bit around the doors. But I'm going to cover that next week. So that's it for this week's video. Please like, share, tag, and subscribe, and of course send me your comments, and I'll see you next week. Everybody take care. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Coldstream Rod Shop. I'm Derek Fraser. In this week's video, part 3, we're going to be working on the deck lid. Going to hinge the deck lid, put the, oh, there's the air pump I've been looking for the past week.